Welcome to the show, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Today I got to sit down with Max here in San Francisco to talk about deep cloud AI. Now, before we jump into the interview, I just want to give you guys a few quick notes. This is an upcoming ICO, so do your own diligence. You guys know the story. DYOR, there is no substitute for doing your own research, guys. Unfortunately, the sale does exclude citizens of the United States and Canada. And furthermore, it is not a sponsored review, just a great project that you guys might want to have some more information about. Max, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's wonderful to be on here.
Pleasure to have you. You know, when I got the message the other day, I started looking into this going, wow, this is cool. I love these kind of projects that are trying to build up the whole ecosystem as we know it. And so, what's the elevator pitch for everyone out there in the audience? What are you trying to do? Yeah,
a very, very deep tech project. Not a lot of crazy hype around it yet because we're really focused on the project itself. We're basically a cloud computing project that's geared more towards IoT dApps and edge computing. So our emphasis is on AI and our AI matching engines. So that's basically what we're doing, and we can go a little bit more into that in a while.
Yeah, great. So what's the current problem then, I guess, with the current solutions for that?
Well, currently, most of the big projects, the centralized projects that are out there, are not necessarily gearing towards edge computing, and they're more focused with centralized environments. Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS, they're filling that space, filling those needs, but not necessarily for AI at the edge.
Right. And so you have these big guys out there who are kind of already doing it. What edge does using blockchain give you over them?
Sure. That's a great question. So this is the thing. We spend a lot of time looking at the pain points and looking at where we fit in. We want to be careful not to overlap Microsoft and Amazon's core products, right? So we really took the time figuring out where we can fit in, and working on cloud computing for edge devices and so forth is really where we fit in. Mm-hmm. And the blockchain, it plays a major role in several different areas. One of them is micropayments, as you can imagine. The other is getting monetizing the resource providers. So small businesses or individuals were able to put up compute close to these devices and so forth. They're able to get deep tokens and so forth.
Nice. And so with deep cloud, we're going to have a situation where you have all these different IoT devices hooked up, essentially helping provide all that information, which is going to help training for AI and things like that as well, right? And so we're big fans of smart toasters here on the show. And so I've got my smart toaster, and that's going to be help training the overall cloud mind, essentially. So what do you see as being some of the key challenges for the adoption of artificial intelligence and things moving forward, and of cloud computing as well moving forward?
Well, the adoption for cloud computing itself, it's already out there. Cloud computing itself is not the issue. I think the question really is, how do we get blockchain-based solutions adopted out there? And I think that's going to take a lot of what we have. I mean, we have deep experience in the business and enterprise field. We've managed and implemented corporate enterprises for quite a while. Our CTO has extensive experience building out and rolling out industry products, successful products, and I think that's what it's going to. I really think that's what it's going to take. We need an experienced team who understands the markets and who understands how to get real partnerships that actually matter in the space. And I'll give you an example of that. Working with industries, working with enterprises who are willing to have our platform side by side with theirs and testing it out live, and then at some point adopting it.
Yeah.
That's really a big part of this. not just throwing it out there and hope somebody,
Hey, we've got a great idea over here, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's, when I started looking into your project, that was one of the things that kind of struck me was this experience beforehand, because that means a lot. One thing we have to remember in the ICO space is that a lot of these projects that are coming forward are, dudes just out of college and stuff like that. And I'm not putting those dudes down because, Bill Gates dropped out of college, right? And a lot of other people did too. But at the same time, having that business experience, knowing how to actually put the pieces together is a very valuable part of the equation. Now, I want to dive into the tech a little bit here, just as an overview. Mm-hmm. Let's break down the overall tech architecture of what you guys do.
Cool. So one of the areas that our AI matching engines really help out is they really match these resource providers. Say, for example, you're an individual putting up your compute resource, and there's a traffic video camera that's a block away.
Yeah.
So moving forward, that camera is no longer just taking a video or just taking a picture. Now it's also processing AI. It's also doing running algorithms on it. Mm-hmm. That's pumping out so much more data, right? So that for it to go back to its back to the centralized server, if it was Amazon or so forth, that's going to really slow down the entire neighborhood's bandwidth. Okay, so for it to go to you a block away, do all the processing and go back and forth, it's a lot faster, more efficient, you get rewarded, and on top of everything else, one of the great things about this project is the local communities really benefit, because the money really stays within the community for some of these resources being used.
Nice. So
that's one of the great features. The other great feature is we're very scalable. The blockchain that we've chosen to work with is Nebulous. Nebulous is a great tech project. We spent a lot of time. We looked at a lot of the blockchains actually, and we've seen a lot of the great benefits, including the fact that they're using JavaScript. And as a business person, I look at how fast I can onboard developers and how fast we can scale. So these things are really important to me. Their throughput is solid, and it's going to continue to go up as they continue to develop. And Nebulous has a great support team. We have 22 in-house developers now, but still, having support at the blockchain level is crucial for our success. We really want to be able to roll these products out fairly soon and have the support that goes along with it.
Nice, and it's so great to see this, I guess, really explosion of the blockchain ecosystem, because right now we're in a situation where I think it's like 95% of the tokens that exist are Ethereum based. Mm-hmm. And so to actually see people building on Nebulous, it's so encouraging to the overall blockchain space. And if you guys want to know more about Nebulous, I've done a video on it before, so go and check out that review if you're kind of wondering what's Nebulous and what it's all about. It's a very, very promising blockchain that's out there that hasn't been getting as much press because they're kind of just coming in now. So if you want more information on it, check that out. Now I want to go back to Deep Cloud's tech for a moment here. Are you going to have master nodes?
Yes. We will have master nodes, and there will be a token lockup for that.
Yep.
And they have some pretty important roles that they play, including the sharding, and they have a deep view inside of the network as well.
Do you have any idea what the details are going to look like for master nodes yet, as far as how many you're going to need, tokens you're going to need to lock up?
We've discussed it in-house. We're going to release some of those details on our website. Our Chief Technology Officer really is in charge of what that's going to be. So stay tuned for that. We're going to release that news soon.
Okay, excellent. And you're going to be implementing sharding as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
And
that's
so,
right.
Can you just give a brief rundown on what is sharding, and then how are you going to be implementing that? Why is it useful for the project that you're making?
Sharding and sidechains is really huge for us, especially because this is also on our white paper as well, where we have some of the diagrams. It helps us to match the right type of resources. Going from a user who's putting up these resources all the way to the enterprise client and so forth. And being able to shard and figure out what resources are best is where we're going to use that.
Nice. Yeah. It's great to see using both of the key scaling implements here, sharding and side chains. So it means you've got really high scalability just for your project, and I think that's really, really great. And what about the security? We're dealing with data here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I've got my toaster. I don't need the government knowing when I make my toast, how much toast I use every week. So how's the price?
Great question. We are using Intel SGX for the enterprise clients, and we on our marketplace, because we do have a marketplace as well, where we're able to put up a lot of other vendors, and there's a few that we're in talks with that are also going to be putting up some of their products. But we have like industry's best security that's out there, and Intel SGX is one of them.
Nice. And the marketplace is really cool too. So essentially, I'm going to be able to generate all of this data with my, let's say, my IoT devices, right, and then monetize that via the marketplace later on.
Yes, and dApp developers, right? If you're creating a dApp or you're creating something for your IoT devices, you're able to go to our marketplace and get pre-validated apps and components. This is really big. This is huge because this means you don't have to start from scratch. Every project doesn't have to start from scratch building out. You have a lot of core components that's available to you that you can just grab from our marketplace and start with. This really helps roll out projects a lot faster, and one of the things that we want, if you want adoption, you got to make it as easy as possible for these dApp developers and IoT developers to roll out their projects.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's an absolute key element when it comes down to this, is how user-friendly is it going to be for people to actually come and build on it, because if it's not easy to build on, no one's going to be using it. And if no one's using it, then there's no end users, essentially. You need that middle step of the developers. It's so important to get them on board and to be welcoming to, which is, of course, what you guys...
Yeah, trust me, that's really, on the business side, for me, that's really the most important thing. Blockchains are amazing. There's a lot of great blockchains out there. But for me, right from the beginning, I've been focused on how to make this as easy as possible for everybody to onboard. From developers to users. We're already looking at different ways of getting this out into the community. So there's a lot of really great things we're working on, but it's so important to make this as easy as possible for the developers.
Nice. Now, you guys already have an MVP available, is that correct?
Well, the MVP is going to be released prior to the crowd sale.
Right.
However, we're already demoing it for private VCs and so forth.
There you go. So it's out there already, and everyone's going to have access to it before the ICO. So even though it's not available to look at yet, before the ICO happens, make sure you check back if you do want to see the MVP. Now, the deep tokens themselves, what exact role are they playing in the ecosystem?
They have a few different great roles. One of them is it's something that users can earn. If they're putting up resources on our network, they're able to earn tokens as enterprises and so forth. They use them. You can purchase them on the exchanges. The ICO itself is one place you can get them as well. But their intrinsic value goes up based off of the usage.
Right. And of course, we'll be paying the masternodes and things as well. But this whole idea of the sharing economy, essentially, of letting companies or individuals, of course, rent out someone else's computing space or power is really important. And there's a lot of projects that are tapping into that right now. And I guess we can go into that conversation. What is the key differentiator between Deep Cloud and, let's say, Golem and Sonum, because they're rather similar?
Sure. Actually, they are similar in some respects. And this is where it gets kind of hazy, because they're all actually great projects. This is one thing that when we get in a situation where people try to pit one against the other,
it's like Highlander. There can only be one.
There can only be one. No, but there's actually a lot of really great projects, and we really like to see what's going on in this space. They are solving different use cases. We believe they're focused on certain areas, and for us, we're really focused on AI at the edge and IoT devices and dApps. There's different use cases. There's different processing that's happening. So we believe that although there are wonderful projects that are out there, we believe we're solving a different issue. And we believe that this is really the next generation where cloud computing is actually heading. So our belief is current cloud computing platforms that are out there, as we've talked about earlier, where AI is headed and processing is headed, this is where we believe things are going.
Nice. And there are so many great projects out there delivering great things, and this is just another high-level entry into the entire ecosystem, which is great to see. And again, you've got your your niche, your area where you're saying this is what we want to be doing and this is how we want to be doing it, which is a nice clear vision. I even prefer this to projects that are coming in and saying we're going to do everything.
Yeah.
And doing everything is really, it's hard to do one thing well. It's made much trickier to try and do 50 things well.
And this comes from business experience as well. This is really important for us to figure out a few products that we can actually build, implement, get the trust of the community and the enterprise community, and then we can build on that. Mm-hmm. Because it's not like we don't have the expertise to create several different huge things, big products, but that is usually the biggest problem, because that requires larger teams, larger marketing areas if you're trying to hit up too many different areas. Mm-hmm. So our focus is really getting a few solid projects out there, great products that we can get rolled out, integrate into the community and so forth, and then from that point build up.
Nice. Now, when the crowd sale happens, it's going to be an ERC20 token, which will then transfer to Nebulous later on. Is that simply a situation of Nebulous not being quite ready to handle an ICO yet? Or is it just easier to do an ICO on Ethereum and then do a mainnet swap later on?
Exactly. It's just easier with the ERC20 at the moment, and that seems to be the model that most projects are doing. And we were advised by legal as well. This is probably the best way to go, and at some point we'll transition over.
Ethereum really does have that big advantage right now that it has been the industry leader without a doubt for ICOs, and we see so many projects just like this actually launching on Ethereum and then transferring over later on. Neo, we've seen quite a few projects in that situation, and I think this will be more on Nebulous as well, where we'll see, especially at the start of the blockchain, projects launching on Ethereum and switching over to Nebulous later. Now, speaking of Nebulous, is Hitters Zhu on the advisory board here?
That's right.
And for anyone who doesn't know who Hitters Zhu is, he is a big name in the cryptocurrency space. He was one of the original people in on Neo, and he, of course, is behind the Nebulous blockchain. So what is his exact role?
Well, actually, all of our advisors, we have great advisors. Everybody's very active in our project. Everybody from everything from security to the PhDs that we have in cloud computing. They play a major role. And Hitter's role is really great because he's helping us with entry into Chinese markets. He's helping us with the right connections. Really, that's such a huge deal in business. Getting us connected with all the right folks that can help us get our product elevated to that next level.
As the old saying goes, it's not what you know, but who you know, and this is so true in the blockchain space. This is why when we're looking at ICOs, I always take the time to mention who are the partners, what are the venture capital firms involved, because that's a really good indication of how you can connect in the future, because those venture capital firms have a lot of connections. People like Hitters have a lot of connections, and that is really important in making those contacts for business in the future.
Yeah, and not just that, but I know you're going to be releasing this video. Go on our website pretty soon, because we're also going to have some more content there with partnerships, because we actually wanted to make sure that our community and your community realizes just how valuable this project is and how different it is. So there's actually third-party analysts that have been looking at this project. They're going to be putting their reports out within the next day or so.
Great.
And thankfully for us, and we're really glad, they love the project. So this is wonderful. There's a lot of wonderful news that's going to be coming out pretty soon as well.
Nice. That's fantastic indeed. Now, let's move on a little bit to talking about your market strategy. I know we mentioned a little bit about it already, but what's the idea? What's the timeline? When are we going to see testnet? When are we going to see mainnet? When are you expecting to have 5 big partners and all these things like that?
The testnet should be August. The partnerships are going to be continuously rolling out, and it's very important to me that I don't have partnerships pushing out that are just based on hype, etc. I really want to make sure the partnerships that we're working with are really going to work with us. We're going to be a huge active contributor to their businesses, and we can work closely together. So that's going to continually come out, and most of these partnerships are going to be with enterprises, which is important for us. I know that this is not something that's talked about very much in blockchain, but I would love to get to the point where cash flow is something that we can discuss. So,
making money, that's crazy.
I'm a businessman. That is actually a focus at some point in the future. So we want to get enterprises onboarded at some point very soon, and roll out models where we can have we can start making some cash flow as well.
Great. And what about the token sale itself, or the token generation event? So what are the details as they stand at the moment? When is it going to be? How much are you trying to raise? How much deep are you going to get for one Ethereum?
Oh, sure. So our hard cap is 15 million. 6 million is private sale, 6 million is pre-ICO, and 3 million is going to be for the crowd sale. And we are already overly subscribed with the private sale, but we're still working with a few VCs that are going to be onboarding. We have some allocation for them.
Yep.
The token is 25 cents per token, per deep token. The private sale, the highest amount they were able to get is 25%, and they have to contribute in a high level to our project if they want that. The pre-sale, the highest amount they can get is 10%. And the crowd sale is just the flat 25 cents per token.
Great. And so right now
I'm sorry, one more thing. So all the bonuses that are being given out in private and pre-sale, they will all have a 3-month lockup period from the time that it hits exchanges.
Great.
We want to make sure that the community that's buying the crowd sale, it's a fair.
Yeah, they don't get dumped on. Absolutely. And now, so currently, the private sale is in the process of being wrapped up, and pre-ICO is coming?
Yes, actually, they're at the moment they're kind of simultaneously happening.
Okay. Yeah. So pre-ICO is kind of ongoing right now.
Yes, exactly.
So if somebody wanted to get involved in the pre-ICO, what's the best way to go about that? Just send you guys an email and inquire about it?
Send Daryl, he's the head of our business development, send him a message or an email, and do let him know what you're able to contribute to this project. And, and that's really what's very important. We want to make sure that communities, members out there, and folks out there are able to help excel this project along in a meaningful way.
Great. When we were talking the other day before our interview, I liked the numbers behind this because you're not trying to raise $40 or $45 million. Honestly, I feel like some of these ICOs, they just put a bunch of numbers in a hat and throw them up and see, okay, hey, look, $45 million. That's how much we're going to raise for our ICO. $15 million, I know that sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people. That actually sounds like a very reasonable amount to try and start a business.
Yeah, listen, if you look at what some of our in-house staff believe this project is valued at with the MVP. They have wild numbers because this is how proud we are of this project. Yeah. But as a CEO, it's important to me to make sure that the community that's supporting us, gets a fair shake as well. So. We've decided 15 million is what it's going to take for me to execute this project in a successful way, and those numbers are based off of our projections of what we need, not what we think the project is valued at. And the way I think in business is if you execute and if you do a good job, then you'll be rewarded.
Yep.
And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we can demonstrate that this can be a success.
Nice, and that so much comes down to just the core of what you want to see in an ICO, because you have this idea, you have a great way of being focused on trying to deliver that idea, but you also have these community ideas in mind, because we see a lot of ICOs right now. They go to the venture capital firms, they sell 39 million to the VCs, and then drop 1 million in airdrops or a small token sale or something like that. And so the VC connections are really, really important, and that should not be discounted at all. But you guys have taken some of those on board, but it's a smaller percentage than the crowd themselves are going to actually have access to, which I admire, because it's important to have that community involved. It's important to actually let the regular Joe out there be able to get into the ICO.
Yeah, and it's important. Great. It's important. The community is what really is a big factor in the success of this project, especially when you're looking at blockchain projects and in this environment, this space. So much of the community is really what drives these projects forward, and it continues that great PR that's out there, and helps the adoption. Remember, we need you guys for the adoption. You guys are huge. So that's very much so agreed. The same thing when it comes to VCs. We didn't let the VCs just take the whole chunk, because we've had a huge demand from several VCs. They want to buy up the entire thing.
I'm sure.
But, it's such a low hard cap, and it's very enticing for them. But we want to make sure that we're fair, and we're also making sure that we have several VCs and give them smaller allocations. It's very important to us that that not too many people have too much control over the tokens.
That's great. That's great. Now, final reminder, guys, the whitelist, it's going to be closing soon. So if you're interested, don't wait. Get over there. Get signed up for the whitelist anyway. You can always decide later, when the sale happens. But make sure you do get signed up for the whitelist, because it is getting a lot of hype, and you want to make sure you're signed up for it if you're interested in participating in the sale. Any final thoughts on Deep Cloud?
I'm just very happy to get a chance to talk to you, and everybody just go onto our Telegram channel, keep up with the news, support us, to take a look at all the great things we're going to be doing, and we really need you guys. We need you a lot more than people know.
Awesome. There'll be links down below in the description taking you over to the website if you want to check out some more information about Deep Cloud. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.